So the topic is angle of minimum deviation. Okay, so here you can see the graph. A graph plotted between the angle of incidence and the angle of deviation is shown in the figure. So this is the angle of incidence and this x-axis. This is angle of deviation, that is in y-axis. So one could observe that the angle of deviation increases with increase in angle of incidence. So the angle of deviation is increased, that is due to what? The increase in angle of incidence, and it reaches a minimum value d. Okay, so minimum value d, and then it continues to increase. So this is the angle of deviation. So the angle is get deviated with rise in the incidence. So that is said to be what? The value d. So the minimum angle, the minimum value of angle of deviation is called angle of minimum deviation. So this is the minimum angle. Okay, so this is the minimum angle. So I1 is equal to I2, which means the I is equal to I1 and plus I2. And R is nothing but R1 is equal to R2. That is nothing but the refraction. So first, the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of emergence. So which is nothing but, so we have seen this diagram before itself in the previous topic itself. So what is the diagram? So I have the prism here. This is the incident ray and this is the emergent ray which comes out from the prism. Okay, and this is the angle of deviation. So the angle of deviation increases when the angle of incidence is get increased. Okay, so here I have incidence and here I have incidence. So these two angles are vertical. The incident and the emergent are equal. So only they are telling I1 is equal to I2. And R1 is nothing but the refraction ray. Okay, inside the prism I have the refraction R1 and R2. So these two angles also it's equal. The refraction angle, the phase of two phase are equal. Okay, so that's what they have mentioned here. R1 is equal to R2, and the refracted ray inside the prism parallel to its base of the prism. See, the base of the prism is parallel to the refracted ray. So this is the refracted ray, okay, R1 and R2. That is parallel to the base of the prism. So in the case of angle of minimum deviation, like they are shown in the figure, that's what they are told. So 6.42. So angle of minimum deviation is nothing but the angle. Okay, so when you compare the normal ray, so without this prism, the ray will go in this way. If I keep the prism, the angle is being refracted. So the distance, so to calculate the deviation, what we need to do? We need to add the refraction as well as the normal ray. So when you calculate this, we can easily find out the deviation. So this is the distance, okay, of deviation. So this is the minimum deviation that they have plotted in the graph. Okay, so whenever the angle of deviation decreases, okay, when angle of deviation decreases with increase in angle of incidence. So whenever I am increasing the angle of incidence, surely there will be the decrease in the angle of deviation. Okay, so this is called angle of minimum deviation. So before I said deviation increases, so very sorry, so that is decreases with increase in incidence. Okay, so that's all. Thank you.